This is KU TV, Elimu Live, and this is Kenya's premier education television. My name is Ashford, Gikunda, Kimani. I am a teacher of English and literature, and my station is near the secondary school, which is in Gikunda North Sub-County. Before I start, I want to acknowledge my principal, Madam Margaret Nyamu, who has been very supportive, who has been encouraging us to continue growing our career, especially by coming to the studio and offer this live lesson. If you are a teacher listening at home, I also want to encourage you. KU TV offers this opportunity. You can come and teach the Kenyan child from the live studio. Today, we are going to learn how to write the KCSE English essay from the set books. And there are two specific objectives for this lesson. I don't know whether the slide is up so that I can expound on our two specific objectives. It is on the screen, slide number 1. By the end of the lesson, the KCSE candidates should be able to interpret the KCSE essay rubric or the question. This is tested in English paper 3, question 2, which comes from the compulsory set book, and question 3, which comes from the other 3 optional set text. So I am hoping by the time we come to the end of the lesson, the candidates who are following the lesson will the rubric that comes from those specific books. The compulsory play for this year's KCSE is a Samaritan. So at the end of the lesson, we are going to share questions, and we expect that candidates will be able to interpret. The second specific objective is that by the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to write, and the key word there is write, a KCSE essay based on the set books. By the end of the lesson, the learner should be able to write a KCSE essay based on the set text. Having seen that, having given the specific outcome of the lesson, I want us to go straight to the expectations which are on the board. Expectation number 1 is there's always an expected number of ones. Each of the 3 questions in paper 3 should carry 450 ones. So as we do the writing, remember there is that expectation of the number of ones. When we practice in school, we practice with that in mind. Then the other thing, we should be able to interpret the question given. We have witnessed in the past where candidates interpret the question wrongly, and therefore they end up writing the wrong essay. So it is important we underline the key ones in the question given, so that with that we are able to do justice to the question. Number 3, and that is why I'm here, is specifically the format. There is a specific format which I am going to expound in this lesson of what is expected in every paragraph, so that as we write, we are guided by that format. I have talked about the specific objectives of the lesson, which are 2. I think now with that, we can start. In the next slide, set book essays. You can see it on your screen. The set book essays are tested in English paper 3. And normally, here we test the application skills. Because we have read the text, the set text in school, throughout the year. Maybe we started in Form 3, and now when we respond to the KCSE questions, remember, we are applying that knowledge in real life situations. The other thing that is important is that question 2 will come from the compulsory play. I have already said it is the Samaritan. That is where the essay for the compulsory question will come from. Compulsory means question 2, you must answer it. It is not optional. You must answer it. If you don't answer question 2, it means you will lose 20 marks. Then the Samaritan, this is also very important for the candidates and teachers who are listening to KU TV. The Samaritan play is being tested for the first time in this year's KCSE. So it has not been tested. It is a new book altogether. But that does not mean we should panic, because we have read, we have understood it, and from what I've gathered from learners and teachers, the Samaritan play is very easy. Then the next point is that question 3 carries the other optional set text, which are 3. We have a silent song. I think I have a copy here with me of a silent song. And the silent song is a short story anthology. A silent song is a short story anthology, which has 14 short stories. Last year, we tested one short story. So out of 14, now we are remaining with 13. God sees the truth, but waits was tested last year, so it is not unlike the Samaritan. This will be its second time being tested. The other optional set text is a novel, Artist of the Floating World. That is a novel, and it is optional. And the third is a Parliament of Oaths, which is a play. Those 3, a school can choose to do all of them, or a school can choose to do one. But if you choose to do the 3, it means you will face the 3 questions, and it is up to the candidate to choose the question they feel they are comfortable with. We can move on to the format. I want us to listen very keenly now from here, because I am going to be very detailed and very slow so that we get it to understand. The essay format is as on the slide. It is coming up shortly. There it is. The KCSE set book essays are 3 parts. There are 3 parts. Part number 1 is the introduction. An essay must have an introduction. This introduction of the essay, which I will be explaining how it is done, is marked out of 2. It carries 2 marks. I will demonstrate to you how the 2 marks are accounted for, because when you do the 2 things that are expected in the introduction, then you score the 2 marks. And I normally am always persuaded that nobody should miss the 2 marks, because even without prior knowledge of the set book, you can always do the introduction. You do not have to read the Samaritan or any of the short stories for you to do an introduction. I will show you how that is done, and then that is cost 2 marks, which I will account for when I explain. Then the next thing is the body. The body carries the lion's share of marks. The body carries the lion's share. It has 12 marks. And when we get there, I am going to explain in details. I am going to explain in details how to write the body of the essay and then get the 12 marks. The third component is the conclusion. Just like the introduction, the conclusion carries 2 marks. This one has 2 marks. And there we go. Then there is a fourth component, which is dependent on the other three areas. This one is the language. We normally allocate marks for the language. Language here, I mean grammar language. As if you do the totals here, you get 16. Therefore, you have four marks for the language. So in the marking, when we do the marking, we normally have a format like this. I is for introduction. We give you your marks. Maybe you have X, body. B is for body. Maybe you have Y marks. Then C is for the conclusion. Maybe you have Z marks. And then language is determined by the content in your body. There are certain marks you get in the body, and then they will be interpreted to mean a certain marks. So language here is determined by Y over maybe another figure there. What did you get in your body? And then we get the score for your language. At this point, I want to note that normally we do not penalize for grammar when we are marking the essay, but we look at your language. How have you communicated? What is your linguistic mastery? That is what we capture, or rather we tend to test in that. With that out of the way, we can start with the introduction so that I illustrate how you get the 2 marks. The introduction slide is coming up on the screen. The introduction must capture, I think I can erase this. Candidates and teachers watching KU Live, Elimu Live at home, if you have comments, if you have questions, please put them up on the comment section. At the end of the presentation, I am going to respond to questions coming up from candidates at home. I also want to assume that my students are following. If you are there, please let me know. Put your name up in the comment section. I am going to acknowledge you at the end of the lesson. The introduction has 2 marks, I said that. And this is how you do it. It's very simple. I want you to follow this slowly so that you are able to at least know, starting today, how to do the introduction and get the 2 marks. There are 2 things we expect the candidate to bring out in the introduction. And the first one is you paraphrase. You paraphrase. Let me use a color you can all see from home. Paraphrase the question. I'll be using the word rubric interchangeably with the word question, because the question is actually the rubric. The examiner will give you a question. We'll get to see some of the rubrics I've picked, and then I will be able to demonstrate to you how to paraphrase. To paraphrase is to explain using your own words. It is that simple. To confirm to the examiner that you have understood the question. When you paraphrase, you are saying the same thing somebody has said, but this time around, you are using your own words. Paraphrase. That is one of the ways of doing the first sentence of the introduction. You paraphrase the rubric, That means you explain what you understand by the statement given by the examiner, but using your own ones. I want to caution candidates. Against repeating the ones in the rubric. Sometimes we fail to score because we use the same ones that the rubric has used. Remember, when you're paraphrasing, we are also testing your skills of synonyms. Which one would replace this? So that means that confirms that you have understood. If I say choices have consequences, for example, if I say choices have consequences, I am relating this to a man of awesome powers. If I say choices have consequences, and I ask you to paraphrase, and you happen to say choices have consequences, remember, you are not paraphrasing, you are just stating or repeating what I have said. So we caution candidates against repeating the key ones that are in the rubric. Show the examiner that you have good in language by replacing the key ones in the rubric using your own vocabulary or your own ones. There is also another way of doing the introductory sentence. You can also give a general comment. Give a general comment. I think we don't need this. The second way of paraphrasing, there are very many ways of doing the first sentence of the first paragraph is general comment. About the you can also do a general comment. You can make a general comment that relates to the rubric about the society. You can say, in the society where we live, the decisions we make, they have a bearing on our future results or our life. I am tying that to choices have consequences because the main character in A Man of Awesome Power, Taib, actually takes some decisions, and we are able to follow his life, and we are able to see the results or the consequences of those decisions. I want to recapture that again about the introduction. Introduction has 2 marks, and the very first thing you do, you begin the first paragraph by paraphrasing the rubric or by giving a general comment about the society in relation to the question given. That is 1 mark. Either way, I am told there are other ways of doing that, but for the purpose of the time and this lesson, I think we can stick to this 2. It is up to you. I don't know what your teachers have taught you. If that works, I am not inviting you to reinvent the wheel. If it is working, let it work. If you find this one easier, use it. For me, I tend to prefer the paraphrasing one because the question is there. You may not have read the book, but the question is there. You can paraphrase it and you can score 2 marks. The second sentence of the rubric, of the first paragraph, this one is even easier than the first one. The second sentence, you show a connection of your comment to the set book. Connect the rubric. I think you can follow from the screen. Point number 2 on the screen says a connection of your comment to the set book. This is what we say contextualize the question. Contextualize the question. I will be demonstrating how contextualization is done because remember, we are dealing with a number of set books, the optional one and the compulsory one. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this is because in Form 3, there is a topic we did called titles of publications. When we are doing essays and we are writing the titles of our books of reference, there is an expected way, there is a standard of doing it. You remember in Form 3, you said full titles we underline, subtitles we quote. For example, Ninema in A Silent Song will appear in quotes because Ninema is one of the short stories in A Silent Song. While A Silent Song and Other Stories will be underlined because A Silent Song and Other Stories is a full title publication. I don't know whether for example, here I have a copy of A Silent Song. This is the full title publication. This book is known by this, but inside there are very many subtitles of all the 14 short stories. To show distinction between a full title publication, for example, if we write The Daily Nation, we underline it because that is a full title publication. If we write The Standard, that is the newspaper, we underline because that is a full title publication. I hope you are getting that and you remember that topic in Form 3 about a full title publication. When you do the contextualization or you connect the rubric to the book of study, which I will demonstrate in the subsequent slides, you will get another 1 mark. So this one, 1 mark, the paraphrasing, 1 mark, and it will give you the total of 2 marks. I hope that is clear for the introduction. I have said I am persuaded no student should not score the 2 marks because what you are doing there is basically very simple. If you understand, you are supposed to paraphrase the rubric. We are going to see a number of them from a silent song, even if they are from the Samaritan or an artist. We should not have difficulties doing the introduction and scoring 2 marks. Even if you want to write 4 sentences or 5, remember the examiner will be guided by the 2 aspects. Did the candidate paraphrase? Did the candidate comment, give a general comment about the society in relation to the book of study? Yes. As the candidate contextualized, when you contextualize, it is almost certain that you are going to mention, sorry for this, you are going to mention the book of study. We expect to see December, for example, which is a short story. We expect to see A Silent Song, which is also a story there. We expect to see the Samaritan. In your contextualization sentence, you must mention the book of study. That is guaranteed. We can move on to the next slide, where we have examples of rubrics. Very good, there it is. Candidates and viewers and teachers at home, you will forgive me because I worked with 1 set book. I worked with A Silent Song for the purpose of this lesson. But the points and the illustrations I'm giving will surface for all the set books. Okay. If you look at the slide there, Ninema is an undeniable character. Ninema is an undeniable character. That is an assertion by the examiner. So we are told to support that assertion, or we support that statement using Veronica Parras' Ninema You see there Ninema is in quote because Ninema there is a subtitle in a full publication called A Silent Song. The next rubric, when one is given power, he or she should use it only for the good. But more often than not, people use it for wrong purposes. That is from a man of awesome powers. Number 3 is some cultural practices and no value, hence be done away with. Ivory Bangos is the one that brings out some cultural practices that are of no value. Then the next rubric is one is only given a season by a supernatural power to implement change in life. Tahib was a very virtuous man, in a man of awesome power. When the story opens, we find him at the beginning enjoying his retirement with his wife, very contented. And the story says he had lived a virtuous life. Tahib is also seen listening to music and reading the Quran. That is a pointer that he was a very virtuous man. Out of that, the supernatural powers gave him some awesome power to change the society. And what follows next is a mixture of misuse and good use. And you see the misuse overshadows the good intentions and the good use, because eventually, towards the end, Tahib misused the awesome power for sexual passion. The next rubric is people living in the city. People living in the city face many challenges. That is Leonard Kibera's short story, one of the best, an incident in the park, appearing there in quotes. So, in a nutshell, rubrics are statements like those, which are extracted from the books that we study. It could be the Samaritan, and I remember I said for the Samaritan, there is no way out because it is compulsory. Maybe next time we meet, I will have several rubrics from the Samaritan, and then we can have a look at them. Moving on, I want us to dissect the rubric from a man of awesome power. The slide is coming up. There it is. This is an introduction, an example of an introduction, the paraphrasing part. Remember, introduction has 2 parts. The paraphrasing, you can see the question there appears. The first one to appear there is the question. When one is given power is inherent. We are underlining the key ones. He or she should use it only for the good. That is also inherent because we are capitalizing on good use of power. But more often than not, people use it for the wrong purposes. Remember, this question has 2 parts. I have seen situations where a candidate dealt with the good use of power. But the examiner here want you to dwell on the misuse of power. So sometimes be very keen, because there are questions with 3 parts or 2 parts, and sometimes they mislead the candidates. The paraphrase is appearing there in black, and this is what I came up with. Many people who are in powerful positions, like our leaders today, I think that can relate very well. Many people who are in powerful positions or who have been gifted with some sort of privilege tend to abuse it. I also tend to think I am also in a powerful position as a teacher. I am leading the students, and we have stories of teachers who misuse that power. And that is paraphrased. It has been put in the ones of the candidate. There is the next slide as another example. It is on the screen there. The second example is the general comment about the society, but connected to the question of study. The same question stands. The areas, the key ones are in red, but this time round, the comment is, instead of utilizing leadership positions for improvement of the society at large, many people with such positions use them to advance selfish interests or punish those who have wronged them. I cannot think of a better example than our politicians. They win, and once they get into parliament, they start settling scores. That is wrong use of power. We can relate these things with our society. Remember, we say literature is a mirror. What we see in the set books is what we see or witness in real life. So those are. After we have done the paraphrasing, in the next slide, we are now contextualizing. We are connecting our interpretation with the book of study. The PowerPoint is coming up. It is on the screen already. Remember, we said instead of utilizing leadership positions for improvement of the society at large, many people with such positions use them to advance. We came from that general comment of our paragraph 1, and now we link it with the context. The ones in blue are being contextualized, and I'm going to read this. I hope we are following, candidates at home. This is illustrated. What is illustrated? The above assertion. In a man of awesome power, notice a man of awesome power is in quotes. Please remember titles of publications where we have full titles and subtitles. Through the deans, we are now bringing in the character who exhibits misuse of power. So we are saying through the deans of Tahib al-Mahid. That is a connecting sentence with a set text, and we call that contextualization. There is yet another example in the next slide of contextualization, from paraphrasing to contextualization. The writings in red are paraphrased writings, and the writings in blue are the contextualization. I hope we are getting that. I don't want to take too much time on that. Remember, we were talking about the 2 marks, and you do not have to labor a lot to get the 2 marks. So we move on now to the body. There we are. We are on the body. Next slide. The body of the essay must have 4 distinct paragraphs. The 12 marks we said are 3 times 4. 3 marks for every paragraph times 4 of them, and that gives you the 12 marks. I want to account for the 12 marks, and remember I said this carries the lion's share of marks of this essay. So you need to do very well in the body, because not only are you looking for the 12 marks, but also the marks you get in the body will determine the marks for the language. So I have said there must be 4 distinct paragraphs. I am assuming we know what is a paragraph and the characteristics of a paragraph. Number 2, each paragraph must have 3 sets of sentences. Every paragraph will have this topic sentence, which we score 1 mark. And a candidate should not miss the 1 mark for the topic sentence. Remember, we have said when a man is given power, they should use it for the good of the society. And we have incidents in a man of awesome power where Tahib misuses this power. And there are more than 4. So you're actually mentioning an incident in the topic sentence. The first incident is causing an accident because the taxi driver refuses to stop. So that is an incident. You explain how that happened. Start from the background. Taib left home. He was going to town. He hails a taxi to carry him. And the taxi driver waves his hand to him. I think he was upset. He did not like that. You can see how petty he is. He is so provoked by a very small thing just because he thinks he has power. Same case with our leaders. There are things they do not expect to be asked because of the positions they occupy. Even if they are petty and genuine, they don't. So when we ask them, they feel agitated, they become irrational, they become irritated, and the way they hit back is always very vengeful. Anyway, every one of the 4 paragraphs must have the topic sentence. I will explain, and I'm going to do a few. Then we have supporting sentences. These ones are more than 2, but we give 2 marks. Then each of the paragraph must have the clincher sentence. Clincher sentence. This one is 1 mark. I said, using the example of a man of awesome power, that the topic sentence is an incident you mentioned. Tahib Ali Mahid causes an accident. That is the first incident. You go to the next incident where he causes a man to suffer stomach pain. That is another incident of misuse of power. Because if he didn't have the powers, he would not have caused the man to suffer. So you can see that is not for the good of the society, but actually is punishing that man. Then there is another incident where he causes the presenter of news to sneeze because the news the presenter was reading was not pleasing according to Tahib. In his own opinion, he should not have read, or rather she should not have read the news. But because he is upset, he decides to use the power he has to cause the presenter to sneeze continuously without stopping, thereby ending the news. And the fourth, and I think the worst of them all, is when he's in an hotel, sees a beautiful lady walking past him, and he causes the lady to lust at him. You see, that is for sexual passion I talked about. So those 4 will make the topic sentence of each paragraph. Then I want to read what is in the slide, the body of the essay. Each paragraph must have 3 sets of sentences. Here they are. I said that. Grammar is not marked in the essay. I have said that. And I am not inviting you to make grammatical errors now that grammar is not marked. I am just cautioning you. Then I think this one you need to take it to your heart. Take it to your heart. Use the present simple tense. Don't use the past tense. Write as if it is happening now. Remember, literature is factual, and therefore the tense for literature is the present simple. Those are statements of fact. Then number 3, the last one shows how you get marks for the body. If you score 0 to 4, you get 1 mark for language. If your mark for the body is 5 to 6, if you're in that range, you get 2 marks. If you're in the range of 7 to 8, you get 3 marks. If you're in the range of 9 to 12, that will be an excellent job. You'll get the 4 full marks. You get the 4 full marks. We can move on to the body, the next slide. I think this is just a repetition of what I have already said. The topic sentence, shortened as a TS. So when we mark, we look for that, and we qualify your mark by writing there TS 1 mark. It means the candidate has a topic sentence, and we cannot deny them what is rightfully theirs. So when you see in your script written TS, that means there is evidence of a topic sentence, and you score. The supporting sentences are very many, but the minimum should be 2. And the supporting sentences are actually giving evidence to the fact in the topic sentence. When I say the Taib causes an accident by causing the tire burst, you build up that. You are using textual evidence. He was going to town, he stops a taxi, and the driver waves at him, and he takes that with a lot of annoyance. He becomes irritated. You are just illustrating what is in the topic sentence. Then number 3, the clincher sentence. Clincher sentence. I feel compelled to talk about the clincher because this is the mark most candidates miss. In most essays, our students do not get the clincher sentence. And I want us to go to the slide about the clincher, because I think I have talked about the others in details. The clincher sentence. There is a slide about clincher sentence 1. As we wait for the slide to show up on the screen, I want to say the following about the clincher. Thank you. It is on the screen. And I want to say the following. And I want to believe that my purpose for this lesson was tied to this, because this is where I'm compelled. I feel compelled to emphasize. Clincher sums up the assertion in the topic sentence. Clincher is only one in a paragraph. Actually, it is the last sentence. Every paragraph must have a clincher, and it is clinching. To clinch means to conclude. It is concluding the assertion in the topic sentence. Then number 3, I want to urge our candidates to follow number 3 very faithfully and religiously. Clincher uses adverbs of results. Remember, an argument as an outcome. We argued that Taib causes an accident, and that causing of an accident is a wrong use of power. So we must conclude with that, and that's why we are saying you use adverbs of result. For example, you can use an adverb like thus, hence, therefore. Why are we saying thus? Why are we saying hence? Why are we saying therefore? Why are we saying as a result? Those adverbs are summing up the wrong use of power by Taib al-Mahid. And in each of your 4 paragraphs, the last sentence should be introduced by an adverb of result, an adverb of outcome, an adverb of consequence. Therefore, when Taib uses power to cause a road accident, he is using it to fulfill his own selfish interest. That is how you're clinching. You are agreeing in your argument that power has been misused. So when you do the clincher, another thing I want to plead with the candidate to do is to connect the clincher and the paragraph with the rubric. Which question were we answering? The wrong use of power. And that's why we are saying, as we clinch, we say, therefore, when Tahib causes a road accident by steering at the tires and bursting, that is a demonstration of wrong use of power. So that is how we clinch. There is another clincher one in the next slide, and this one is actually a full paragraph with supporting sentences 1 to 4, all of them. Look at the way the one in red reads. When Tahib is on his way to the, yeah, it is on the screen. When Tahib is on his way to the heart of the town, he hails a taxi, but the driver simply waves a hand at him. Maybe the taxi was full. We are not given the reason. But according to Tahib, because he has the power, he felt that the taxi should have stopped. Maybe he wanted one of the passengers to alight and then he can get in. I don't know what was his thinking, but that irritated him the way our leaders are irritated. Tahib's irritation makes him stare at the rear wheels and the taxi and the two wheels explode suddenly. Remember, this is evidence in the text. All these are textual facts. And you go like that, you can see there are very many. SS there means supporting sentence 1, supporting sentence 2, like that, like that. And then look at the clincher, where the one thus is appearing in red. This, the clincher says this, thus is act of utilizing his power to revenge, because that is what he was doing. He was vengeful, shows that people with the power use it for the wrong purpose. The part in blue is a connection with the rubric, while the part in black is a confirmation of the assertion we made. So that is how it is done. And we can now go to the next slide, the conclusion. I have demonstrated how you build up one paragraph and you repeat that pattern in paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and paragraph 4. Even if you want to do 5, you can do 5, and we will mark and allocate you marks and give you the one you have the highest. Because there are cases where the topic sentences or the points are more than the paragraphs. Conclusion sums up your essay. It is the last paragraph of the essay. It is brief. Even if you did the 2 sentences, and in the 2 sentences you bring out the 2 aspects I'm going to mention, you'll have 2 marks. For the introduction and the conclusion, those are 4 marks, and nobody should deny you. Those are 4 marks. Then for the topic sentences, the 4 of them, those are another 4. So you have 2 plus 2 plus 4. That is 8. In other words, what I am preaching today is the lowest marks you should get in an essay is 8 if you have followed this lesson. Because you'll have the introduction done well, the conclusion done well, and you'll have the points for each of the paragraphs. Then it is scores 2 marks, and there's a caution here. You only score in the conclusion if you have scored in the body. So if you have no body, you will not get the 2 marks. So make sure you write something before you come to conclude. When you sit down in class, in an exam, and you want to do the essay, write the 3 things I said: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, so that they can guide you. Then it should begin, listen to this, listen to the last point there. The conclusion should begin with adverbs of conclusion, because you are concluding your essay, and they are not the same as adverbs of results, like it were in the case of the clincher sentences. So here you say, in conclusion, and what are you concluding? the assertions made in paragraph 1 to paragraph 4. That is what you are concluding. Remember, you are watching KU TV, Kenya's only premier television, education television. I have remembered a joke when I was coming for the class. My principal and my good friend, Mr. Oreto, called me and I told him I was going to teach. And then he answered back and said, go and scatter knowledge. That is what I am doing. I am scattering knowledge like it was done in the parable of the sower. Some of the information I'm scattering will land in very fertile brains, and we will have very good essays coming from our students. Thank you for that, Mr. Oreto. Thank you for that encouragement. In conclusion, remember I'm also coming to the conclusion of the lesson, or you say truly, essentially, then you sum up, as is in the case in the next slide. In the next slide, we are accounting for the 2 marks. How do you do the conclusion? You write 2 statements. The first statement shows the truth in the question. What was our question? That when people are given power, they use it for the wrong purpose. So we are showing that our argument in the essay, according to the illustrations above, it is so true that when people are given power, they use it for their own selfish gains. And the last sentence of the conclusion is a remedy. So what? Remember, literature seeks to find remedies to the problems in the society. What is a remedy? Remedy is a solution. What solution are you offering to people given power? Choices have consequences, or any other KCSE rubric question. You must not leave the exam room if you have not offered a remedy. Solution. We are seeking for solutions or answers. What should we do? That is in the next slide. The conclusion is a brief personal opinion. It can even be a summative proverb that summarizes that. And if we go to the next slide, I amend your statement as 1 mark. It should be a universally accepted and a positively expressed moral lesson. We can move to the next and the last, I think. There is an example of conclusion. Next slide. In conclusion, the assertions above point to misuse of power for personal and selfish interests. And then we are giving a remedy in the next part, where we are saying people gifted with the power should strive to use it not only to advance the common good. That is a remedy. That is a remedy. We have given a remedy for the problem we had. And can go to the last one, which is actually feedback, reactions. I want to see whether there are questions you sent or the queries. I think in a nutshell, I can sum up what we have learned, that an essay has 3 components. The introduction, which has 2 marks. Please go and get the 2 marks. Practice with very many rubrics, and then you'll see it is the easiest thing to do. Once you are done with the introduction, you do the body. Make sure your body has 4 paragraphs. Follow the rules of a paragraph. In a paragraph, the first sentence is called the topic sentence, and it gives us the idea of discussion. What follows that are illustrations, what we call the supporting sentences. We support that Tahib causes an accident, that Tahib causes a man to suffer stomach pain, that Tahib causes a presenter to sneeze continuously, that Tahib causes a lady to lust for him. And they can be very many, but they should come from the text. I should say this, with illustrations, you can give direct quotations from the book because that is what is provided. Or you can report what is in the text. If you are able to remember the quote, the exact ones, you use them, we mark the quotes because that is a fact from the text. Then I have talked about the in every one of the 4 paragraphs. Let them start with adverbs of result, consequence, or how to come. What happens when Taib lasts, causes the lady to last for him? You see now, from a man who was very virtuous, he ends up being a very promiscuous man at his age when he was enjoying his retirement. Then the conclusion that has a general comment about the assertions you have made in your essay, and then it has a remedy moving forward, what you do advocate for. I would advocate for people gifted with the power, even our leaders, to use that power to make our livelihoods better. That is what an essay seeks to do. And I think I cannot find comments. We are going to stop there. My name is teacher Ashford Kimani. I teach at Ngedo Secondary School in Gatondo North. And I want to say thank you for your time and for listening to us. Asante.